Welcome to the Monday edition of the Final Wager. I hope you had a great weekend. I had an excellent time with the remainder of mine in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Great wedding and really cool town. And we have a really good game tonight to start off the week. We've got James in the lead with 15,200, Michelle in second with 12,600, and our defending champion Allison with 10,400. Very rare to see all three players with five figures. James, Michelle, first and second. We'll start with them. Michelle doubles up. She's going to have 25,200, so that makes it very easy for James. He needs to wager 10,000. If he gets it wrong with that wager, he's going to be left with 5,200, so to stay above that, Michelle can wager up to 7,400. And Allison can wager up to half of her total, 5,200. Now we look at second and third. Michelle and Allison. If Allison doubles up, she's going to have 20,800. So to cover that, Michelle will need to wager 8,200. You notice that's more than what she needs to wager against James. Therefore, if she wants to cover an all-in by Allison, she'll need to wager everything. At least 8,200, but everything is the right wager there. And of course, if she gets it wrong with that wager, she's left with less than what Allison would have if Allison wagers 5,200 to stay above James. All right, now let's look at rule number 3. And we'll start with Allison. She trails Michelle by 2,200. So she could wager 2,200 to cover a zero wager by Michelle, or to cover an unsafe wager by Michelle, she could wager 4,400. Or, the difference between her and James is 4,800, so she should wager at least 4,800. So, she has a very tight range, 4,800 to 5,200. Michelle, if she wants to cover this zero wager by James, will need to wager 2,600. And an unsafe wager would put her at 5,200. Someone's jackhammering outside or something. I don't know what's going on. Alright, now we go into mind games, and the only real mind games are going to be between Michelle and Allison. James is not going to want to play mind games because he has two players who can catch him, and the odds that one player is going to wager correctly, not that great. Two players, almost impossible. Plus, Michelle is almost forced to wager this 12,600, so James has very good incentives to wager 10,000. Let's look what happens if Allison wagers this 5,200 amount. She'll have 15,600. So to cover that, Michelle might wager 3,000. If she gets it wrong with that wager, she'll be left with 9,600, which is 800 less than what Allison has, so Allison could wager up to 800. One other thing that I would do for Michelle is remember that Allison can wager 2,200 to cover a zero wager by Michelle, assuming she could be assuming that James is going to wager for the lockout, which he should. In that case, if she gets it wrong, she'll be losing to Michelle by 4,400, so I'd cap Michelle's wager at 4,400. And I'd also get rid of this alternative, because Michelle already has a solid range here if she wants to cover the lower wager by Allison, and she also has this 12,600 she wants to cover a full wager by Allison. So she has two options. Okay, let's take a look at how our players did. Our returning champ got it right and wagered 4,800, which was her bare minimum. Nice work. Over to Michelle, who missed and wagered everything, which was entirely appropriate for her. Finally, James got it wrong and went for 10,000, which is also a perfect wager. So we had 3 perfect wagers tonight, and James looked like Arthur Chu up there, bouncing around, not quite as frequently. Not as strong of a daily double wager as Arthur might have done, but also went for the tie and had both he and Michelle responded correctly. They'd both be back tomorrow. Instead, it's two-time champ Allison, and we'll see you Tuesday, along with her, on the Final Wager.